Hey Diva, hi, how are ya? Today I want to talk about my TBR going into 2026. In 2025 I fell in love with reading again, thank goodness, because it was a long time coming. I'm a classic case of a major bookworm when I was growing up, and it really trailed off, and during uni I just simply did not find the time to read. This year I've got myself back. I read a ton of Agatha Christie to get me in the groove for a little novel, and since pausing Agatha Christie, because I love Agatha Christie, I've read a few little fun, interesting books. And today's video is going to be my TBR list going into the end of the year and on into next year. I don't know how many more books I can read this year, possibly one or two. I'm not the fastest reader, so... Yesterday I finished Mrs. Dalloway by Virginia Woolf. I actually still need to decide what I'm reading next, because I'm not sure. There's something I want to read, but I don't have a physical copy of it right now. I'll get to that. Anyway, let's get started. First book that I do have a copy of is Prophet's Song by Paul Lynch. It was a Booker Prize winner 2023, and I've just been meaning to read it for the longest time. I actually got given this for Christmas in 2023. What a thoughtful present. This is before my reading renaissance. Paul Lynch is an Irish author. My heritage is Irish, so... But it's just supposed to be a really, moving and intense book. And I kind of like that. I kind of like when things are intense. In Mrs. Dalloway, the best parts for me were when it got really intense, like the emotion was getting intense. I wanted more of that from Virginia Woolf. This is a contender for up next. The only kind of awkward thing is that it's hardback, and I'm not obsessed with hardback. However, having said that, this copy is feels kind of light for a hardback. It's not crazy. Not like the next book on this TBR, which is this monstrosity. 1Q84 by Murakami. This is a double volume, book 1 and 2, and this is book 3. My mum read these years and years and years ago, and I remember I was a kid and watching her read them. She said they were amazing, and I kind of put it on a TBR, a long-term TBR in the back burner of my mind. I did read a Murakami book a few years ago as a rogue book, and it was fantastic. I really like his style, at least. Obviously, it's translated by J. Rubin, who I'm pretty sure translated the book I read. I can't even remember what it was called, but I'll put it up on screen. And I really liked the style of writing. I liked the style of the prose, the rhythm of patter and everyday life, elements of life coming in and out of view through his prose. I'm sure so many people have read this. I'm really excited to get it read. I think I'm really going to enjoy it. I really want to read it next, but I'm just, again, this being what I have to carry around, like one of these, and this is heavy, this hardback. Next on my list is Five Little Pigs by Agatha Christie. My friend actually gave me this copy. This is sort of a placeholder just for any Agatha Christie book. This is a Poirot, well, and I do love Hercule Poirot. I may or may not go for this one next. The only reason I can think that it would be one different from this would be if I read Hercule Poirot's Christmas over this Christmas period. That would take precedent. As I mentioned, Agatha Christie is my girl that got me back into reading this year. I have read several, I think like 5 of her books this year. I read them back to back to back to back because every time I finished one, all I wanted to do was find another Agatha Christie book. And I don't think that's an issue. She's incredible. There's a reason that she's the most widely published or the most published person in history or whatever she is. She's incredible. I love her. The only thing is, every so often in Agatha Christie there'll be some problematic slur adjacent language, so that's like a trigger warning, to be honest. It's uncomfortable every time it comes up. One library book that I read this year had some of the uncomfortable language crossed out by a previous reader, which was fantastic because I don't really want to read that. Next on my list, I don't have a physical copy of, but I'm dying to read Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. And the whole series, I think there's 3 or 4, I'm not sure how many. I am so excited to read these books. Love a murder mystery, hence my Agatha Christie obsession. I love a murder mystery movie, a murder mystery TV episode, a TV series. I love when The Simpsons do a murder mystery 2-part spanning series 7 and 8, the season finale and season premiere. Whew, how iconic. I'm obsessed with murder mysteries, and I do kind of stan Richard Osman, to be honest. These books are critically acclaimed and anecdotally acclaimed, so I just can't wait to sink my teeth into them. I've been wanting to read them for years, even during my reading slump. Anytime a good murder mystery came onto the scene, I put it in the back of my mind and I knew I would get to it. I'm so excited to get to it. If I had a physical copy, it would be next up. It would be next up. I'd be reading it right now instead of doing this. I haven't seen the film, so I have no idea really what the story is. I know a bit of the premise, like old people's home or old people bingo club? Bingo club? Thursday bingo? Something like that. Anyway, I can't wait. I feel like it's gonna be, if it makes me feel how I felt when I read Nancy Drew growing up, oh, stop. I'm so excited. And those books so far are the ones that I would want to sink my teeth into right now. Say I'll read 2 of the books mentioned so far by the end of the year. That's just a little goal I have. I don't really have reading goals in that way. It's just too much pressure for me. What I do like to do actually is keep notes of any words I don't understand as I'm reading. Are like incredible vocabulary. I feel like tracking things like that, keeping note of things like that is a fun, non-competitive, like numeric type of interactions I like to have with my books. Anyway, no shade to anyone who has book goals and needs to read 18 books before the end of the year to hit their target read count. So the next part of my TBR is going into some classics. As I've mentioned, read some Virginia Woolf. I read E.M. Forster Howard's End before this, which was really good. There was Goss. It was less about the story and more about how the story was told, because it would lead you one way and then twist within a matter of sentences. It would, like, we would be building all the way over here, and then it would just cut the floor from underneath you. You want to read some more iconic books, because these books are classics for a reason. One I just picked off the shelf, which is a bit intimidating because it's very, very chunky, is Don Quixote by Cervantes. I also picked up James Joyce Dubliners. These are just iconic books. There's really not a lot to say in terms of why I would want to read these. Talking about my Irish heritage, I actually just lived in Dublin for a year doing my master's degree, so this one might be tempting. Yeah, some kind of classic. I don't know, maybe a bit of Charles Dickens potentially one day, although that might also be too rambly, because I know that Victorian writing goes into just every detail that it can, describing every tiny little speck of dust on the table before it moves the plot along by one sentence of dialogue. I do like the idea of reading some Charles Dickens. I think like Don Quixote feels like a bit of a dedication. I might have to read it at a time when I feel ready to try and read books parallel with each other, because I don't really do that. I just read one book at a time. But maybe this one could merit a break. Or maybe, because it's so famous, maybe it just is that good and I will just love it and eat it all up. That one's not coming up anytime soon. I just read 2 classics and I'm ready for some kind of modern novel. I also grabbed off the shelf, this must be my dad's copy, a little known book called The Lord of the Rings by J.R.R. Tolkien. This cover is really cool. I've never read it, I've never read The Hobbit, I have seen the movies. I love a bit of fantasy. I love elves and fairies. I love linguistics, and J.R.R. Tolkien is the king of fictional constructed languages. My camera died. We're back. Pretty sure I was saying J.R.R. Tolkien is the king of the conlang. I just know I would enjoy this. It's just a matter of when I will read it, and it's very much on my TBR. So there it is. Let me know if you've ever heard of this book before. And the last section of this TBR is a little bit of just me manifesting reading, dabbling in some fiction. Oop, some non-fiction. Not the Freudian slip. I want to read a little bit of non-fiction. I don't even know exactly what that means. I've read lots of non-fiction for my linguistics degree. I would like to continue a little bit of non-fiction reading. I don't subscribe to the idea that non-fiction reading is superior in any way to reading fiction. Honestly, quite the opposite. Just because it's through a fictional story doesn't mean that the themes and the lessons and the wisdom is not very much real and applicable to real life. But the book I have here to represent non-fiction is The Letters of Vincent van Gogh, edited by Mark Roskill. I just saw this on the shelf and I have been meaning to read this for ages. I think I read a bit of it when I was a teenager. It's a publication of Vincent van Gogh's letters to his brother and to some of his friends, possibly his painter peers. I'm not even sure. Interesting to read and get a bit of insight into the great mind, the great and troubled mind of Vincent van Gogh, who is one of my favourite painters. Who isn't a massive fan of Van Gogh? I'm just still interested in history. I love art history. I'm interested in linguistics, in critical theory, in philosophy. Let's see how we get on with this list for the time being. This is by no means a, just a checkbox type of list. If I come back in 6 years and I haven't read Dubliners by James Joyce, I'm not going to be kicking myself. I will be kicking myself for the first 4 or 5 on the list because those are the ones I'm desperate to read up next. But I definitely, in between the genre that is my favourite of mystery, I do want to read some other high quality fiction, non-fiction, classic literature. So that's what I'm going to do. That brings us to the end of this video. So thank you very much for watching. Let me know any thoughts you had on any of the books I spoke about. Please let me know any recommendations that you might have. Please let me know any major red flags in amongst any of this. By this I'm gesturing down at my pile of books, like this mountain of books. Yeah, let me know what you thought basically. I'd love to hear from you. Please have a lovely day and I'll see you next time. Bye, Diva.